I'm actually really glad we got the opportunity to do this because like we were on the panel together, but we really haven't talked because we didn't really get any time to chat during TwitchCon. Can you
I
tell
know
me about
TwitchCon was so
yourself?
busy. Sure, yeah. I just want to say first and foremost, though, that being on that panel about science communication on Twitch was an absolute joy, and you are amazing. Like, I'm stoked that we were on that panel together.
Well, thank you.
And I
Likewise.
just think you're the coolest. Like, thank you for having me on your stream. I've definitely admired your streams for quite some time now, and I just think it's super awesome that you invited me on here. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, thank you.
Um,
I really appreciate
yeah.
it, but also, like I said, likewise. Likewise, ma'am.
Oh. But yeah, so something about myself, let's see. I mean, so okay. So I'm not an actual scientist for the Coffee with a Scientist, everyone, just to say. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. Um, Initially, I was trying to go for astrophysics. I really love astrobiology, though. I've loved it for over a decade now and have like always read articles and just kind of like self-taught myself random things. So I absolutely have knowledge gaps, but at least I'm aware of that. um, and yeah, I've been streaming on Twitch for about 10 years now. It'll be 10 years in a week, which is so surreal to me. I've been doing science communication the whole time. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I really love it. So
Wow, you're like 10 years, man. Holy smokes.
I don't know how it's been that long.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yikes.
it's weird to
Wow.
think about. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's really cool though. Like I think that's awesome. I hope that I get the opportunity to still be doing this in 10, and gosh, I've been streaming for almost 4
Yeah.
years. So yeah,
Oh,
man, wow. That's like that's as long as I took for well, it's longer really, but that's yeah, about as long as I was in grad school. So you really are a Twitch science expert.
but yeah, I guess I have my graduate degree in Twitch SciComm, so I got
Yeah?
that going for me.
Yeah. So don't shoot yourself
I
down
wish I
too
had
much.
the actual one.
No, dude, that's like, but that's the, like that's how long it takes to be an expert in something, and you've been doing it for that
Oh,
long. You were an expert in Twitch science.
oh, you're so nice. Thank you.
Speak the truth. But
I
oh, thank you so much
appreciate
for
it.
the follows, everybody. Welcome, Koopa King and Mustache Mike and Shanna Cranky
Oh,
Pants.
hi
Welcome.
everyone.
So, what made you want to start streaming on Twitch?
So, okay, the honest answer to this is that okay, so 2014 was a different year, all right? Twitch was different back then. I thought I was funny, and that's why I wanted to start streaming. Because like I remember I was playing like Tomb Raider or some random game, and I was just like kind of making jokes, and I was like, "Oh, people do this on YouTube. Like, I should do that." And I learned about Twitch, I think a while before I started streaming, and I was like, I should just live stream. Obviously, that has turned into something way more than I ever would have imagined back then. Like I was such a Twitch noob when I started. Like I don't even know. I don't think I watched anyone else's streams or even looked at my like viewer count or anything for like at least a year or two, I think, after I started. Like I just went live and that was that. And I talked to people and I played games and then like yeah, so it was different. But yeah, and then I think maybe more so in 2015, I definitely remember playing Fallout 3 and talking about like possibly having humans like go live on Mars and stuff. Um, and just nerding out about astrobiology stuff every time I would play video games. So that's kind of where like the science communication stuff came in. And then I just kept nerding out about it continuously. And when I was playing games, and then finally they made like the IRL category, which later turned into science and tech and all the other categories. And yeah, then I did like dedicated SciComm streams in there, and I would take things that I did at like my astronomy club at school because I used to run that. I would take like my astrobiology type presentations from that and like also do them on my stream every now and again, which is fun.
Nice. So
And
you
yeah,
ran or not? Oh my gosh, astronomy club. I'm end stream. End
It's
stream.
okay. It's early morning. It's early morning. And you know what? Like it really should be astrology because that's like how it fits with all the other sciences. It's just that morphed into something else later in time. So
Yeah,
it's all good.
there you go. But yeah, so that's really cool. I didn't know you like ran an astronomy club and everything. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I tried. I do really love it. And I've always just loved sharing my passion about this stuff because it's so cool. And I feel like I wasn't really taught about it in grade school or anything. And I feel like it's, I don't know, just really interesting knowledge that some people might not know about, I guess.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I feel similarly. So I'm really stoked because like I said at the beginning of stream, I have my super nerdy magazine that I get.
Yes.
And I don't know anything about this, truthfully. Like I don't. I knew I like had read the intro and I was like, "Oh, okay. So there is organics that oh yeah, I forgot. I just like forgot cuz you don't think about how carbon you think about like how all the different elements up until like iron can be made inside of a star, but
Hmm.
like I just for some reason when I hear organics and like organic life and I'm thinking I just like forget that that's carbon. I don't know why in my brain. So first off, just to get it out there, organic matter, does it have to come from aliens if there's organic matter in outer space?
You mean like alien life or something? No.
Yeah, does it mean so if there's organic matter in outer space, does that mean there's alien life?
No.
Okay,
Not necessarily. No, I would feel like no.
cool,
Because organic matter, like you said, is just carbon,
cool.
right? For most things, I'm really bad at chemistry. Let me just get that out of the way
I'm not that
right
kind of
now.
doctor because organic chemistry is scary.
I never took OChem. I took one chemistry course. So all of this stuff is very much like I need to learn more about this, but I do know for most things that are organic, and I could grab my astrobiology textbook and double check or whatever, but I know for like most like organic molecules, it just means that it has like carbon
Cool. No, 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 you're right.
down
I just want to make sure, you know, for anybody who's out there watching in case, you know, first off if you're out there in chat, feel free to ask. Like there's no stupid questions. We are here because we want to be scientists and totally answer your questions. And but mostly
yeah,
yeah,
nerd out.
just to clarify for everybody in chat. Yes. So the experts, the Twitch science communication expert, the rock expert, and more importantly, the experts who write the peer-reviewed articles in this journal. um, yes, this dude's name is Dr. Sumit Chakrabarty. He's like the geochemist. But yeah,
I
we on
was
Earth do not have proprietary rights to organics. I thought that was a really good quote.
and I think that is super duper cool as well. Yeah, that was a cool article too. Thank you for sharing it with me. I enjoyed reading through it and everything because it was awesome. I
Yeah,
think they mentioned some of Carl Sagan's work in there too, and it was actually really rad to read about that. That
yeah,
made me like really really excited.
yeah.
um,
I thought it was really, really cool. What are some
yeah.
maybe for like people in chat? Do you have I've got both articles pulled up here, the intro and the one that the other one that I sent you, the Martins and Pasek, which is on how organic molecules got delivered to early Earth.
Uh-huh.
Um, would it be okay if I put up like table one from the intro, which is just like a list of organic molecules and stuff? Do you mind talking about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, you do you. It's your stream. I'm just here chilling.
No, no. I want you're an astrobiologist. I don't know any astrobiology, like genuinely. I truly don't.
I'm I'm so excited. And you know what? I don't know if you know, but we have overlap in our stuff,
We
like
do.
volcanoes
Oh
and
yeah,
astrobiology.
we do.
I
I
read an
don't
article about that a while ago.
really. I
I
saw
actually
that.
opened it up.
Oh, I have not really read anything on extraterrestrial volcanoes in a while. I where is this?
Oh, I know I sent you
Oh,
that
I'm
article about Io. I did not expect you to like read it or anything, but I was like, oh my gosh, 4 billion-year-old volcanoes. I gotta send this to Volcano Doc.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking of the wrong article. That's what happens when you have a paper copy. Um,
I mean, that's fair.
Here we go. I've got this one up. Guest screen share and
Hi, Raiders. Hey, E to the 2
oh
pi.
my god,
2 I pi. I always butcher your name. Sorry.
E to the 2i, welcome. Welcome on in. How are you? Let's see. I need capture screen.
There's not an echo, by the way, chat, is there? Because I don't have, I can put on my headphones, but I didn't.
Usually, sometimes there's an echo, but it's not always like. Yeah, I don't know. It's not that one. It's this one. Cool. Here we go.
Oh, good. Okay. Just chat, yell at me and tag me in chat if there's an echo, and I'll put on my headphones. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just, you know,
That's how I am. I'm
lazy.
like, I prefer to not have headphones, but I know that I felt so bad. I had a meeting yesterday with like, dude, there's like 20 of us, and I I don't think a single one of us had less than a master's degree, and like the reverb was so loud, and it took everything I had. I'm so glad my face is covered right now, dude. I even was like in chat. I was like, "Hey, you've got reverb,"
She's like,
and just like not, it was just not getting through. It's just like, sorry.
that would be so frustrating. I would not be able to focus at all.
No, thank you so much for the raid, E to the 2i. How are you doing? What kind of questions did you get? And thank you. If you guys don't know E to the 2i, he's a math streamer, does science and tech. Definitely go give them a check out. Do methane volcanoes exist? They do, don't they, Mo? Because you have
You're the volcano person. I don't know.
no.
Let me see.
I'm pretty sure that's cryovolcanism, right? Masters without a good mic, it's rough. Methane's a
Is it?
liquid on Titan. It's
I was like,
cryovolcanism.
is it? I was gonna say, is that cryovolcanism? I was gonna go through that little article, and then I was like, maybe it doesn't address that in that.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I don't know much about cryovolcanism, truthfully. I
My brain is still booting up.
yeah, I study silicate volcanoes, guys.
That's fair. That's fair.
Me neither, actually. Yeah, thing doesn't work here. I should. You can add it, Patrick. You can add it. And hi, welcome. How are you doing? So Moo, I've got a list here. This is from that intro. It's some of the molecules that are organic that we've found in different extraterrestrial objects. What are these? Like, I don't even know what lots of these are. I feel like this, I know what sugars are. And I'm pretty sure I know what a fullerene is.
I mean, okay, let's see how many of those I actually know, because yeah, like this stuff, honestly, it's like a bit over my head, and
Yeah,
like
like
how
no
things come
no
together. So
judgment. Genuinely, I'm genuinely truly asking.
no, it's okay. This is like, I'm not like, I'm chill with this, because my streams oftentimes are like, let's learn together, and I don't know everything, right? Obviously. And yeah, so let's see. Sorry, I feel like I was going to say another thing. Oh, so like the area of astrobiology that I'm definitely like more knowledgeable in, for me, if you want, you can, I don't know if you know, you can like hold alt and like crop areas of like that window thing too in OBS.
I'm just gonna Wilson
If you
it.
want like just the little chart, then you have more of your face.
Oh, I'm gonna Wilson it.
um, but yeah, I think my like area of astrobiology that I know more about is like some of the environments that could maybe harbor life, like watery moons in our solar system, and looking for like potentially habitable exoplanets. And like another area of astrobiology is like how life originated on Earth. And that's the one I know the least about, but I find it fascinating. And so I thought all of this was really cool, but it's not like I can't speak on it like a whole ton, I feel like. But let's see. So, I mean, essentially, all of those are building blocks of life in different levels. I know the article that you sent me that we like definitely wanted to talk about had another little chart talking about um, like how you need like nucleobase, like how you need things to go together, and those make like the nucleobases, and those make nucleotides, and those make like DNA, and you have like amino acids, and then those go on like to make proteins or whatever, and all of that stuff. um so all of these essentially I think are just some aspects of those for things. Oh, you didn't have to like show the other graph too, but
I know, but
it's a nice illustration.
now that I'm thinking about it though, like this is much better because words don't really do. Oh my gosh, this is
I
annoying.
did. Which article did you have with all the words? I don't know if
That's
I
the
looked at that
intro
one.
one, Yasilta and Kabukawa. I just downloaded the entire
Oh, I see it. Sorry,
her.
my eyes are just going to be green screened out into space because I have white on my screen. Bear with me, everyone in chat. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, so like things like that. Like I know everything comes together. I don't know. Like this is definitely something that I want to deep dive into and like learn a bit more about. Last night on my stream, actually, I was telling everyone it would be really cool to like do a bit of a deep dive into this and learn more and kind of see how things uh like kind of make like an illustration kind of like we have on screen right now of how things come together and make everything. Like what is like the most basic thing we need and how does that go together and make that other basic thing we need and all of that stuff.
Yeah, this
And
is
this is like a whole lot. um so I'll just kind of say the things I know.
yeah.
um so let's see. One of the things is, so I know life as we need it needs CHNOPS, which is an abbreviation for carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur.
Hang on.
So those are like,
Wait. So it's how's it? It's a ch- right now. I'm living in Washington, and I even hear anything that sounds like chutnut, and I'm thinking salmon. And so this isn't a salmon, not a Chinook salmon. How do you spell
no,
this?
like see, I'll type it in your chat.
Okay.
CHNOPS. So that's an abbreviation. Just to remember carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur.
It's just like an abbreviation that's like those are the elements that you need for life.
Yeah, those are like the
Oh.
basic, like the six most like basic things that you have to have for things to be able to like come together and make life, I think.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I'm not gonna lie. Like once again, this is like, I'm a little bit more new to this area. But
Also, the nice
I do
thing about this, though, Moo, is that don't feel bad. This came out in February 2024. This is literally like brand new knowledge. So, like, it's brand new knowledge. We're both learning this at the same time.
yay, learn together. um yeah. So yeah, I know all of those things are needed. And then along with that, I'm sure more things which were like on the yeah, on some other stuff I guess that we showed. And yeah, you need liquid water as well and some sort of energy source, like a chemical energy source. Um, and yeah,
How?
it's pretty awesome. Um, sorry, I was looking at that list of things too with
Oh, no, you're fine.
like the aromatic hydrocarbons and like acetylene, like amino acids. I know we've definitely found on asteroids. I know that's listed there too.
Yeah. I didn't
um,
know that there's so this other one here that says interstellar medium. I didn't know. Does that just mean like space? Does that just mean like the
yes.
hanging out in space? There's just like organic molecules where, because I thought that
Yeah.
space was genuinely like a vacuum, a void. Is
thing
there's
today.
stuff in space?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in space. So there's lots of like random dust things in space. There's I mean, yeah, there's a lot of space and like nothingness in space. But so like interstellar medium could be, like nebulas and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I so we have found fatty acids in a nebula, I think. We found amino acids like tryptophan, which is in Turkey that makes you
Yeah.
tired. We found that in a nebula. I'm pretty sure both of those were in nebulas. But yeah, like all of these ingredients for life are randomly out there in space. Obviously, having it come together in the right quantities, in the right
Space
environment
krill.
is more difficult, but it is really cool.
Space krill. That's funny. Now you're gonna have to make an emote that's a little krill with like an astronaut top.
I love that idea.
Yeah. That's so
Hi, everyone in chat, by the
crazy.
way.
I never I just never thought about any of this. This is just so neat. I truly like was reading through this like last night and this morning and like I didn't know about any of this. I didn't know like I knew that you get carbon and stars like I said, but there's like so many different types of organic molecules that just they're so complex. This is not what I would have
Yeah.
expected at all.
So, yeah, essentially, like you said, carbon and whatnot from stars and everything. Nearly all of our elements, almost all of them, come from stars in some way, shape, or form, whether that's like merging neutron stars or like dying low mass or high mass stars or whatever. Hydrogen and helium come from the Big Bang. So, a lot of these ingredients are just, they're out there in space. But then in different environments, this is where all the chemistry I don't know happens. Um, areas are more hot or they're more cool, or like these molecules just kind of clump together, or not clump, I guess, bond, whatever the word is. You can tell I'm really not a chemistry person. But they come together and form like these other things that are more than just like, oh, here's just carbon. It like, will bond with something else and make probably most of that stuff that you see on that list.
Oh, okay.
Um, and those are definitely important building blocks for life as well. Obviously, like amino acids, like I was saying earlier, is on asteroids, and those come together and help our proteins and stuff in cell formation, right? I'm pretty sure. Now I'm second guessing myself.
Uh,
They all come
I
together
was
in ways.
I took biology my freshman year of high school, which I didn't finish and like never went anyway. And then like I took one biology class in college in community college and I hated it. And I remember we like cut open eyeballs to dissect them. And the second that the knife popped the eyeball, I vomited it all over the floor and I ran out of the room. And that's the only thing I remember from biology. So
What kind of eyeball?
I was a sheep eyeball.
Oh my god, I
It
would
was
have vomited
big.
too.
It was
Ew.
big. I wear
Oh my god.
like yeah, so I don't know any I think
No.
you guys really don't understand how little I know about biology. But like that's all I remembered. you know.
Oh my god. I mean, that's fair. That would have been my takeaway too.
It's just I don't like eyeballs and this stuff is gross.
Yeah. I thankfully the biology course I took in college actually did a conservation biology one. So it was we didn't have to dissect anything, and we talked about like biology and cells and all of that, but we also talked about like how the ecosystems and everything work together and all of this cool stuff. It was
Oh,
great.
that's
I loved it.
super valuable. I like that.
Yeah.
That would have been a much better
I
for
wish you had that
me.
experience.
Yeah. You used to teach
I'm sorry that you
dissection.
had the eyeball, because I would have been grossed out. In high school, I remember they had sharks in formaldehyde and they were dissecting them. And I walked up to the teacher because I super love sharks. And I walked up to the teacher and I was like, I hope those died of natural causes. Like, I was so mad. Like, little environmentalist
Good
me was
good
like, where
though.
did you get these shark sourcings from? Because sharks are actually, a lot of them are endangered and they're threatened to extinction. And I want to make sure that you're getting these from a source where that's not just like killing them and that they died of natural causes or whatever. Like,
Oh
I was
my
going off on it.
goodness. Hey, you
I was
know,
so mad.
I have, I mean, No issue with that. I got no issue with that. We're
It's pretty
getting
funny.
stuck in a lab or in an ad, so I want to make sure to not go through too much stuff until the
Oh,
ad
that's okay.
gets through.
That's okay.
So I'll catch up with chat. Hey everybody, welcome on in. Atomic, welcome, welcome on in. You have to get exploding stars to get elements heavier than hydrogen or helium. Yeah, in order to like get them out. Yeah. But then I think supernova are how you get higher than iron, right? I believe so.
I don't think necessarily supernova. I think those are like merging neutron stars. I thought. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I also know there's like, just like radioactive decay and stuff makes some of the other elements, and there's like some
Yeah.
human made, but
Hmm.
um I was trying to find there's something that like popped up that made me be like, I wanted to find some. Oh, I did find a thing about amino acids.
Oh,
Um
cool.
well, yeah, it just says they could have been, well, I'll wait until the ads. I'll wait until the ads. There's not much longer left.
Mm-mm.
um didn't know we just had frogs and such. Oh.
Yeah, I just don't. We had frogs in high school. I was a very different person in high school. Supernovas get you iron and higher up to a point. Uranium, I want to say. Iron's heavy as you get through regular stellar fusion. Okay, that's what I was. I just. Do you need the star to explode to get the iron out, though? That's my question, because you form up to iron through stellar nuclear fusion. I'm just saying to actually disperse it out through space, don't you need to explode it? Otherwise, you just end up with the white dwarf that's just sitting there and everything's just in the star, right?
I mean, I do get what you mean. Wait, for iron in and of itself, I'd maybe have to look up my little origins of the elements table. I can't remember things.
Oh,
Um,
I forgot about that. That is a.
I love it.
I need
I
one of
have that
those.
pinned in my Discord server because it's just the coolest. Oh, I found a larger version of it. I'm
Oh, nice.
gonna have to repin it. Um, wow, that's taking forever to load.
We had one that was like all the different like R and S processes and stuff like that. Here we go.
That's cool.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Yeah, white dwarf supernova for iron. It says
Okay.
cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc as well.
Oh, I guess you
Yeah,
can
but I
make
know
it
things
up
like
to zinc now.
silver um, and gold are like merging neutron
Yeah, that's
stars.
the neutron star stuff.
Yeah, but
Oh,
yeah, for like cobalt and nickel and iron and stuff. Yeah, that's
huh.
white dwarf supernova.
This is
It
what
might
we're.
be like a bit more nuanced than that too, but it is cool.
Yeah, I'll throw this
Um,
in chat in case anybody wants to see. So you've got the periodic table here, and just like, you know, helium can form either in exploding massive stars, low mass stars, or the Big Bang. Cosmic ray spallation. Isn't that when like cosmic rays hit? I
yeah, I'd assume. Now I'm like, wait, hold on.
I want to say like that's how beryllium 26 accumulates in like surface rocks. And that's how they date when like landslides and
Oh,
stuff can happen. Cuz they
oh,
look
that
at
sounds cool.
the amount of cosmic radiation that's accumulated in weathered surfaces versus the fresh surface, and you can tell how much older the fresh surface is from the weathered surface. And yeah, that's how you date things that don't have like any crystallization or modification of the actual crystal.
What? So you tell me we're actually like using
Oh yeah.
cosmic rays and like
Yeah.
stars to date rocks on Earth?
Yeah, it's
Like
called
oh
cosmic
what?
yeah, cosmic nuclei dating.
That's sick. I didn't know that. Oh my god, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, cosmic ray exposure. Here we go. I knew a gal in my master's. She dated the Hetch Hetchy landslide in Yosemite using this.
Oh,
So
cool.
this is on the Western Alps. A huge landslide. And let's see if they've got any sweet figures that show like any cool figures or just no, I don't know how to read this enough. Yeah, sorry. I
That's fair. No,
it
I don't
looks
know.
complicated and I don't want to be like blah blah blah. But yes, it's
No, that's super
cosmogenic
cool.
cosmogenic nuclide dating for dating like landslides and stuff. But yeah, check it out, read
That's
more
so
about
cool.
it. You'll enjoy like reading up on it and yeah, new topic. Woohoo.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
That's so cool. That was cool to learn about.
yeah.
Um,
Here we go.
yeah.
Full lab hydration. Thank you. Um, sorry, I'm
So
catching.
yeah, I guess with, kind of talking about some of the origins of the elements and whatnot coming from stars and just, space in general, I guess, I feel like a lot of people forget that we are a part of space. Like we're on this rock that is Earth in our solar system hurtling through space. So everything that's, out there available in space is probably here in our own solar system from like our protoplanetary disk. And we can get into that in a little bit. But um, like asteroids and all of the planets and everything here are like formed from, our one like protoplanetary disk and everything. And yeah, so I guess it's not too surprising that, this stuff is elsewhere in the universe and it's also here. And yeah, a lot of those things, kind of like we were talking about with like amino acids earlier, I think it's been said that they maybe could have originally been made in like interstellar molecular clouds,
Oh,
kind of like where the solar system formed. Like I guess also like, protoplanetary disks and stuff could have just made all of this, and then yeah, they like kind of wound up in asteroids later on and crashed on Earth. So maybe Earth had some of those, is the thing. Like maybe Earth had all of the ingredients for life, but the asteroid impacts, and that's kind of what your article was saying too, like the asteroid impacts could have deposited more of these ingredients, which is always a good thing, but also could have created like an energy source upon impact, which kind of sparked that like, oh yeah, let's like, that heat or whatever, and that energy just, makes things like go together and do the cool chemistry stuff.
yeah.
um,
I saw
which
that
is
and I
awesome.
remembered like the I liked how they brought in the Miller-Urey experiment at the end too. That was really cool.
It was super awesome. It was super awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
going through this, maybe yeah, let's go through this and kind of talk about like how
Moving.
does this work? How
Sure.
how does organic matter get to the early earth and like what conditions would bring it in? How do we know that they happened and how could maybe life have just spontaneously happened on earth?
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds good. um
so we're talking
I was
about
looking at the article.
uh, this is a Martins and Pasek. This is a article in this sweet geochemistry magazine called Elements. So this is a peer-reviewed science journal, and this came out a couple months ago. So brand new knowledge, which like, and back me up if or correct me if I'm wrong, Mu, but also back me if I am correct. Would you agree in saying that like we've kind of thought that this stuff happened, but you know, has there been any peer-reviewed research about this that first? I like this is genuinely the first time I've looked into this, so I don't really know.
We've definitely thought that this has happened, like meteorites bringing like the things to Earth, right? Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think more people are familiar with like panspermia, which is like life being on an asteroid and coming into Earth and like depositing that. But
Mm-hmm.
on my stream, I have always said I don't think life in and of itself was on an asteroid. Like, where would it have arisen? Like, what conditions and environments are in space that would have all of that stuff to like be conductive of life.
Yeah.
But I do know that, you know, even since like the 90s or earlier, we have found a lot of different, uh, you know, like precursors to life in meteorites and whatnot,
Oh.
which I think are mentioned in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like those amino acids and all of these other helpful things. So I've kind of always said that on my stream, instead of like life in and of itself, I think a lot of the ingredients for life came on asteroids.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
That makes sense because,
yeah.
yeah, like you think about asteroids in space, and that's not really the kind of place where life would be. What kind of conditions, like before we get into this, what kind of conditions would you think life like would need?
So I know there's a few different theories for like how life originated on Earth, and one of them is like around hydrothermal vents. Similar, by the way, to what Saturn's moon Enceladus has. um,
Ooh.
so it's like our hydrothermal vents on Earth, you know, in our oceans. There's this complicated stuff that I feel like I can't speak enough with, but there's like, okay, so I know in like that one picture it said something about like chondrite things, and there was also something. No, wait, no, maybe it is that. I don't know. There's also something else. I'm like now I'm forgetting everything ever. Sorry.
No, don't
Now that
apologize.
I'm
This
like
happens to everybody, no
morning
matter
brain.
no matter what. It happens to everybody.
There's a let's see. I know that there's like the specific stuff, and I could find exactly what it is because now I'm like, of course I'm not remembering. Essentially, I think it's something along the lines of like the lovely ingredients, you know, like specific thing, like maybe iron or whatever else from like Earth's core, and you know, heat and whatnot, and other like nutrients and things come up and like go woo like through this rock, and that like does things to those elements and like makes them bond in like specific ways to create something more, like to create like, you know, important other elements. Now hold on, not elements, I guess molecules or whatever, more like complex molecules. And then when they like spew out, they're like in like this warm awesome environment, and that creates more things coming together and just kind of like bloop bloop bloop. And over, you know, a long time of all of this stuff coming together, having like that chemical energy source and whatnot, yeah, you get, you know, the basic building blocks of life, like those Chinook things, you know, forming into more things, and then you start getting, you know, like the precursors to RNA and DNA, and then you finally get those things coming together and making DNA in and of itself, which is one of the things we think could have. I feel like I'm not explaining this great. One of the things that could have started life on Earth is like it's kind of like the RNA. Wow, I'm forgetting the word.
No, I
Wow,
read that. I read
the
that.
it's like the oh my god, I think it's just RNA world hypothesis is what it's called.
Mhm.
Um, and they think so, like they think that life could have originated abiogenically. So like it's all of these non-living things coming together finally, and then over time, you know, they come together, and then all of a sudden they've like made DNA, which could have been sitting there for a very long time before it did anything.
Mhm.
And then it kind of, you know, all of like the parts of a cell came together, like those amino acids, those proteins, which are um, you know, I guess if we like looked at a little picture of a cell, it's like all of those little things coming together finally, and then boom, you have a cell.
Oh.
Um,
Huh.
and like, oh hey, maybe DNA and RNA was already there. So that's like one theory, I guess, is like hydrothermal vents. Another could be kind of like the primordial soup of like you just kind of picture like volcanoes in the background and like ooze on the surface, and like, you know, like the wet dry cycles of you know, having it be like really wet and then kind of like drying out. There's something good about like the wet dry cycles. I don't know exactly what it was, but
Huh.
yeah, so there's a few different ways, but essentially, you know, you do need the ingredients for life. You need some sort of chemical energy source, which some think could be volcanoes, it could be lightning strikes, it could be hydrothermal vents, it could be a meteor impact, um, something like that, to, you know, create that kind of environment. And you also need liquid water to that's like a solvent, so it helps to
Oh.
break down certain things. I don't know enough about the chemistry, but you'd probably know more than I do.
Yeah. We have a raid. Thank you so much for the
Oh,
raid, guys. Welcome, raiders. Oh no, you're fine. I have alerts. I just keep my alerts turned off during coffee with a scientist. So, welcome
oh, no worries.
everybody. We're with Mahoodles, science communicator extraordinaire, and one of the first science communicators here on Twitch. She's a Twitch expert, and she's expert in astrobiology science communication. She's been doing this
Oh,
for a long time, and she's going to explain this stuff to me because I am not well versed into it. Welcome. How was your stream? What did you do? And welcome everybody. I'm Volcano Doc. We are talking to Mahoodles today on Coffee with the Scientist. We are talking about how organic matter gets to Earth. And we established early on, just because there's organic matter in outer space does not mean that there's aliens, right, Moo?
mm-hmm.
Lots of different ways we can get organic matter. Transpermia. What's transpermia?
More so just the carbon bases are what the organic matter is. It is like an unfortunate name because I wish that we had the term organic matter or something that's more so for like life, not like, oh, this is bonded with carbon. Like I want a word
Ah,
that's like, oh, this is like the life things, and it's there's so much that goes into it, but
yeah. Oh, this
yeah.
transpermia is the seeding of organic life. Dude, that's so true that like you
Oh,
that's so true, Moo, cuz like I feel it's I know it's like potato, but it can be so confusing because when most people see organic matter or like, carbon life or it's not I feel like a regular person not so much doesn't understand but just hasn't had that nuance explained to them maybe, and I think we should probably we should use other words to make it less
yeah.
confusing.
I would love to do because like this obviously like I don't even with this like I still don't understand it fully. I think it would be cool. Maybe they do have like more specific words. Like I know they kind of call it like the precursors to life or whatever, but I think it would be nice to like I would really love to do a deep dive and just like write all of this down and be like this is like where it comes together or you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
No, I
I'm
think
sure there's probably a chart like that. I don't know if that made sense, but I would love to just like someday go through and read more of my like textbook on this stuff too, but just go through and like see every little nuanced step and like understand it and know how it happens and know where it all comes together. And I mean, that's still stuff that we're researching into is like,
yeah.
how life originated, but we have been able to make life in a lab trying out like different environments of like what we think early Earth
Wait,
is.
what? I didn't
I'm
know
pretty
that.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, so we've been able to kind of like, be like, "Oh yeah, I think if we have these ingredients in this type of environment, let's see if it comes together."
Tell me more, please. Tell me more.
I don't know if I can tell you a whole lot more. Let me think. I was trying to think if I had like a previous article or something to share that could like have more insight or have like a link to a paper, and we could probably Google to find one.
And also
Um,
by like life,
yeah.
do you mean like a left-handed amino acid, things like that, or what do you mean?
Um,
Because I think
so
that's
I
kind
don't
of the
know if
nuance, you know?
like I feel like they kind of start with I guess it depends exactly what type of experiment that they're doing. But I feel like, they could start with like an amino acid and everything, but I think they kind of put some of like the building blocks for life, in whatever like, simulated environment and see if they end up coming together. So maybe they have like amino acids or whatever like protein things and they like add some carbs and some sugars and some fatty acids and maybe they add like specific DNA things. Like I know we've messed with DNA and have taken like haven't we taken carbon out of it and put silicone in to see if like that is still stable? Like we have messed with DNA to see if we could like to see what other ways it could exist, like what we can take out and what we can substitute. So
All I
like to
know
see
is
if
if that happens, like
yeah.
I can tell you right now, I study non-living things that are silicate based. If we get golems walking around, we're effed. we're dead. Those things can tolerate so much, like so much better conditions than humans. We will go extinct post haste. We don't want that.
It'd be pretty
We
scary.
don't want that.
It
We
would
don't.
be cool if there was like silicone-based life out there though, instead of like using carbon, but yeah,
I don't want
we
to
don't know.
golem.
We don't know.
It looks like um I looked up on the interwebs. It looks like yeah, in Goddard space flight they made
Oh,
ices like in interstellar clouds, blasted them with radiation and exposed leftover material which included amino acids to water and heat. So yeah, it's like they were able to kind of recreate what happens in this interstellar cloud.
inside an
Cool.
asteroid and stuff too.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Meteorite parent body aqueous alteration simulations of interstellar residue analogs. See, I can read this no
Oh,
problem. I can't read normal English.
it's fair. Yeah, there's been a lot of really cool studies into meteorites because they do have a lot of really important precursors for life, like the amino acids you were talking about. And a lot of them they do think were aqueous, like they had water on them.
Oh.
I know the article you linked me mentions Ryugu, and I could talk a little bit on that one. I know it had like so from the protoplanetary disk where like all of the planets and everything formed from. They think Ryugu was part of like at some point in time part of like a larger asteroid, and then I think something maybe struck it and it came off of that. So that parent asteroid, I think what this no was it this article or something else? Anyways, the parent asteroid was like anhydrous or whatever anhydrous. It didn't have water on it, but later on, I think Ryugu itself has evidence of there actually being like liquid water on it,
That's really
which is
unusual because, like, you shouldn't get
yeah.
liquid water stable in the very cold temperatures of space.
Yeah, I think it's something like maybe like the core, like the inside was hot enough and like kind of heating some of the ices and stuff up.
Oh,
But they
cool.
found like, I think it was some sort of no, maybe it was some sort of like salt stuff on it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they found like pretty good evidence for there being liquid water at some point in time, which is like what? Um, and yeah, I mean, they even found uracil, which is one of the key components of RNA on Rigu as well. So it's
I
like,
don't know what that is.
what? Just one of the like
Uracil.
things that goes together to make RNA, which also like goes
Ah.
in to make DNA stuff. So I think like some of like the very basic building blocks of life are on this asteroid, and there was like also water. Not to say that life was on like the asteroid or anything, but I think it's so cool that like I think for a long time I thought that asteroids were just these boring dead rocks that had nothing interesting, nothing important. And as I've learned more about them, it's like this is our gateway to see like what the early solar system was like the formation of the solar system, what existed, what are like most of our planets made out of, just what could the core of the earth be like. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier for us to fly like a spacecraft, or I guess send an unmanned spacecraft to an asteroid, which is what we're doing with um
The
oh my
Osiris
gosh,
Rex,
Psyche.
right?
We're sending one to Psyche. Yeah, we're sending Psyche to Psyche.
Wait,
um
I didn't know that. I just don't. I haven't kept up. I just genuinely have not kept up.
oh, that's fine. No, it's super duper cool. Yeah, like and so we're gonna try to learn more about like the core of our earth by going to this really um like iron rich or like metal rich meteor.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and yeah, so asteroids aren't boring dead space rocks. Like they let us see, kind of the origins of our solar system, learn more about it, learn more maybe even about planetary formation, and also maybe even give us insights into how life could have originated on Earth by looking at all these ingredients and knowing that meteors impacted early Earth.
Oh, wow. It's one of the
Yeah,
largest asteroids, mostly made of metal. That's so really cool. I didn't know about this at all.
it's so cool. Oh,
Wow.
I'm glad I could help you learn about it. Yeah, I'm curious to see what we learn from it. We're definitely hoping to get insights just into like what Earth's core itself could be like.
Mm. So is
Yeah.
this like it says possibly a mix of metal and silicates. If it's mostly metal, Do you think it's like a bit of the core with maybe like a veneer of the metal, or a veneer of like mantle around it?
I don't know. You mean like for this asteroid, like could that be like what the core of the Earth is, and then we just have like more like mantle and other stuff over it? Or
Kind similarly, yes, but that's not quite my question. Um, it it's my understanding that different parts of asteroids, like the asteroids that are made up of different stuff, are thought to represent like different parts of planetary bodies. You know, so how like a metal asteroid or a metal meteorite, sorry, a metal meteorite, because we're stuff that's like been recovered and examined. You know, that might be a chunk of a core of a planetary body. But if it's like the metal and olivine, like the palisite, then that's like the core mantle boundary because it's some metal, some olivine, and then like chondrites are, or not chondrites, sorry, achondrites are like bits of crusts of other ones. So what I was wondering was if this asteroid is really, really large and is made of mostly metal, do you think that this could be like a core or a chunk of core of a planetary body? Or even the core of a planetary body, since it's like mostly metal, and then maybe a little bit of mantle chunk.
I feel like you know so much more about all of that than I do. That was super interesting. Um, I don't know. I don't know enough to say. I
Yeah.
don't know if they think some of these could have been like failed planets or something, like where all of the stuff just didn't come together and like actually make the core and make a whole planet, or if they're just kind of chilling out there.
And I think they can
I'm
also
struggling
have
to
been busted,
remember.
broken apart too. That's how they get sent on. I was genuinely
Hmm.
just like asked, like spitball asking, because I don't
Oh no, I
like
get you.
I've genuine question. Like, what do you think? I don't know.
No, I'm here for the spitball asking. Like I love just talking about this stuff. Even like if we have no idea, I think it's cool to like ask the questions and wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see that. I'm definitely struggling to remember. Like I kind of want to like Google and be like, wait, hold on. But I think, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be surprising because I do feel like that's like, how, like core of the earth came from something like that. And the things, I don't know exactly how earth formed fully, but like, the things came together and made the planet. So yeah, maybe there was just other collisions with these asteroids, or, there wasn't enough other matter around them to like fully accrete and like bring it together
Mm-hmm.
to form like more of a planetesimal, which is like, little baby planet. Um, hmm.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
that's
not sure.
cool. Someone in chat might know. I'm gonna see.
Yeah, asteroids could be what cannot make a planet. Yeah, flu. So I know that like, so I know in order to have a core,
Oh,
like you have to have a large enough planetesimal to form that you have enough heat, and that when it cools you start to differentiate on the basis of density, which is why like our core is more iron. um and then
I
like the
found.
lighter stuff, the less dense stuff, like silicates in the crust, that goes towards the outside, which is why, like, because the earth's layers is all buoyancy related. It's all buoyancy. So like the core is metal because that's much, much, much more dense than the mantle, which is much more dense than oceanic crust, which is more dense than continental crust. So
Hmm.
I think that like if you're going to get something that is a core, which I'm not saying this is or isn't, I think that it would have to, if this was like a core, it had to have been from like something bigger that got busted up. I don't think that you're going to have just like metal floating out there, you know?
Oh, like if this. Well, I did have a little Google because I was curious, and I found a little something.
Yeah.
saying that, well, iron meteorites are really composed of iron and nickel. They're extremely dense. They're pieces of the cores of asteroids. Early in the solar system history, asteroids melted and the dense iron nickel metal sank to the center to form a core, much like
Oh.
the Earth has a core. So,
Oh,
I
so
mean,
you
that's more
don't have
so
to
like
get so big.
cores of asteroids, but yeah, yeah, maybe a little bit of both. Kind of
Cool.
cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, I see you have ads going too.
Oh, I do. I'm behind on chat. It's estimated to have
Oh,
precious
no worries.
metals.
Oh, by the way, did you want to go to the science and tech category, or
No,
you don't
actually,
need
I
to?
prefer to be in here right now, but thank you. It's
Oh,
more
fair
just
enough.
because, like, coffee with, I want to make it more open to people who might
That's
not
fair.
be inclined to be in science and tech
Oh, that's fair. That's
to
fair.
kind of say, like, hey, if you're new, come on in. Welcome to Science
Yeah,
Twitch,
come
guys.
come learn.
This is
No, I
Moo.
get
She's
you. I get
pretty
you.
awesome. Um,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So with
Um,
with this paper, one of the ways that you were saying earlier that you've been thinking all along for a long time is that you probably don't have actual life on the asteroid getting brought in. You think that you might have some conditions and then stuff happens and that would induce life, so to say.
yeah.
Wow, I don't know what that was, sorry. And
No, you're good.
one of the ways that here we go. So it talks about Carl Sagan's work. Chiba, is it Chiba? I actually don't know. Kaiba and Sagan argued a major mole. Oh my gosh, a major role of meteorites in influencing chemistry of Earth wasn't the delivery of material, but the addition of energy. But so we also have a bunch of meteorite impacts on the moon, though. Like, why do you think that if we had all these meteorite impacts on the moon, why do you think we don't have life there? What's the condition that's missing?
Um,
If anybody in chat hasn't heard before.
so I mean, just kind of thinking off the top of my head, you know what? Hold on, now I'm like, wait. Uh, does the moon have a magnetic field? I don't even know. I know that's important for no, the Earth does not. It no longer has a magnetic field. I know Earth's magnetic field is important and like our atmosphere and everything is obviously very much so needed to keep us safe from like the harsh cosmic rays of the sun and to be able to support life. Um yeah, I don't know if the moon would have been, without an atmosphere. I don't know if it would have been okay. We do think that there's frozen water ice in the southern polar region, like inside of craters on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of countries are actually sending, if you've seen any of the moon news recently, a lot of countries are trying to send like spacecraft there and see if they can find water because it would be good for humans not only to drink but like make fuel with when we do little moon bases. But yeah, I think the water probably wouldn't have really been liquid, or it wouldn't have had enough time in like the right conditions for it to be able to have life arise. Even if an asteroid like impacted and like melted the water or something, it's going to freeze over
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly again. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense. Also, like, even and I this is just came to my brain question, and I know one of the ways that, like, there's paleontologists out there who, like, sorry, I'm a hand talker. There's
That's okay.
paleontologists out there that are looking for the earliest evidence of life on Earth. And I know that, like, You have the Precambrian explosion 592 million years ago, and before that, you had even smaller, like single cell life forms for quite some time. And these scientists are like going back even farther than that, and they're starting to look at like isotope signal like isotope signatures in the rock, like carbon signatures in rocks that are supposed to be like biologic evidence of life. And truth be told, like until I was like reading these articles and thinking about like what does like actual organic matter in life mean, like I was
Hmm.
on board. But now that I'm thinking about this more, and I know that this is neither of our fields as well, um but like don't you think it would be really hard to tell the difference between like an organic molecule that just forms by normal non-organic, or like by normal processes like that can happen on meteorites and in outer space and stuff? Like how would you tell the difference, you know?
I do feel like it would be really hard. I feel like that's something we kind of want to do with Mars rock, like Mars sample return stuff too. And yeah, this is definitely, not something I know a ton. Like you said, it's neither of our fields, but
Yeah.
I do know, like, well, I guess I'm kind of assuming, that rocks are made of specific things.
Yes.
And if they find more of like maybe like methane, for example, like maybe there's some little creature on there just farting away. And
that's
maybe if there's
that's
like more of
essentially
something like that in this, like I'm kind of assuming that's what they're trying to do, or like what you were saying,
that's
the
a
scientists are trying to do. I assume it's like that.
yeah, that's like essentially my understanding of it, which is why I'm like, well, if you're just looking at high
Hmm.
concentrations of these organic materials, but these materials can form, they're in outer space by like, they're on comets, they're just hanging out in space dust in the space clouds, like how can you tell that? Yeah, I guess I don't know.
So this
It's
is
gotta be
definitely a big part
hard.
of astrobiology as well, is like, how do we define life, and more so how do we prove that something is life, especially if we're going into like life as we don't know it, because that is like we're not going to be able to recognize it. Like what if it doesn't even have DNA or something? Like what if its cells are completely different? Like will we recognize something as life? And we might not have to worry about that. Maybe everything comes together in a way that's similar enough, but I think it's going to be really hard to be able to see that. Like we have different definitions for life. Like NASA has a specific definition, but if you
Really?
ask other people, it's a little bit different. Um, I think it's something about replicating and undergoing Darwinian evolution or something. And we have made non-living things that show those as well, like that show those features. Self-replicating, undergoing Darwinian evolution, but it's not technically life. Like it doesn't have cells. What are those, like the bio? I always forget the word of these. I don't remember. But yeah, it's really weird. Like the
Oh.
non-life that acts like life, we could probably find it.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good
you found
question.
NASA's
Is a
definition.
virus alive?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that too.
I
So
see. I see.
yeah, it's challenging. But I do know that some of like the oldest evidence for life on Earth that we have, which I think is maybe the oldest fossil ever, are stromatolites.
Yep.
Um, yeah, like 3.45 billion years old. I googled that one because I can never remember. And yeah, those are like you probably know, but I'll let everyone in chat know. Yeah, just like these little cyanobacteria that went together and formed colonies. And those are more so visible of like this is obviously life. For the images that you see of like the ones in like Western Australia or something, because they're like along the beach and they look all pretty and they're like these kind of bulbous things. But you can also find them in rock, kind of similar to what's at the top of the page that you're looking at.
These are the ones that are
Something, yeah,
3.45 billion years old.
yeah. So you can see it kind of looking like that too. So it's like if we find something just from a Perseverance image on Mars that looks like that, we would be like, whoa. But
That's
if
true.
we're able to grab a sample of that and check it out, then, obviously we'll have a bit more info and know for sure. But even scientists looking at some of those stromatolites, there are things called pseudofossils that look like they could be that, and they're actually not. And I don't know exactly how they decipher that stuff, but I do find it incredibly fascinating that they can look at just like these little waves on a rock and be like, yeah, that's some really old life. Like I would, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even, I'm like looking at images of it now because like the ones on the beach are like, oh, okay, yeah, that looks like it could be something. But like the rock ones, that's just like,
I'm gonna have to get one sectioned.
it's so cool.
I'm gonna have to get. Oh, here's what it looks like in section. Oh wait, no, this is a ResearchGate paper. Never mind.
Um, oh, hi, Hogan.
How are you, Hogan? Welcome. I'm catching up on chat. Sorry, the moon's got no atmosphere, liquid water. Yeah, I mean it's more of like what we I think we were kind of talking, like what would be necessary, even though it doesn't have it. What is necessary? Hey, Dibs, how are you? So this
Yeah.
is what
And
stromatolite would look like in thin section. You can see like the darker bits are more organic matter. The lighter are going to be probably like silicate, chert, stuff like that.
that's so cool.
Yeah, they're just like layers of weird sedimentary, like algal mat thing.
Makes sense.
They're really cool
That's
though.
so awesome. Yeah, I love that we have like fossilized evidence for that and can learn more about really early life forms on Earth. Like, I think this stuff always kind of blows my mind in a way of like being able to see billions of years in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, I'm not even going to mention the JWST like background here. Okay. Not talking about other galaxies, but just like on our planet, we can see life like billions of years in the past. And even like looking at these asteroids, we can see the formation, like what ingredients were around during the formation of Earth itself. Like I just think that stuff is so awesome.
Oh, for
Like these time
sure,
capsules to the past. Yeah.
for sure. So, do you think that like I I guess actually could you tell me more about rather would if would you mind telling me more about this, cuz I before reading this article I didn't really know about like phospholipids, and I knew so within the past like 5 years the definition of a mineral has kind of been changed to include minerals of biologic origin, because we know that like like some like bivalves make their own shells, and those end up being made out of calcite and stuff. And like our bones, humans, our bones and our teeth are made up of fluorapatite, which is why we have like fluorine, like your fluoride in our toothpaste. And apatite's a
Mhm.
phosphate mineral, and that's all I knew. I didn't know that like phos like phosphites were like life molecules. How like could you tell me more about like why how do phosphorus molecules like I genuinely do not understand this process.
I mean, I don't know if I fully do either, but I'll try to take a shot from what I do know. Also, that's really interesting about like the minerals, like the definition kind of changing to have our own life in it too. I don't think I knew that or like never really thought about that. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hey,
so
misadventures.
I do know phosphorus is one of the more like quote unquote rare, like we haven't really found it elsewhere except Saturn's moon Enceladus, as far as I know, by the way, chat. Which like that is, in my opinion, the best place to look for life outside of Earth. I'm obsessed with Enceladus. But um, so it's a little bit more rare to find outside of Earth. And phosphorus is one of the chnops that I mentioned, the six like main and most important elements needed to come together to create life. So I think, and like this is like the weird chemistry stuff, but I'm just gonna try to. If someone in chat knows more, please feel free to share more, because I'm not a chemist at all. But I think, and I think it was mentioned in the article at some point too, that so like you can have phosphorus and um oh my gosh, and I just did like a deep dive into this the other day too. Uh I think when it is exposed to water and maybe heat or something else, it can like bond with some other things, maybe, I don't know, or maybe it like does other stuff. Something happens and I think it like goes into a
Oh,
phosphite.
it changes its
Um
valence state, so it can go from like
oh,
having like a positive charge to a negative charge.
hey, there we go. I really need to learn more about all of this stuff. Like it is very much so like I'm just chemistry is like alien language to me.
That's okay. Biology is alien language to me.
It
Um,
is super
it
fascinating though.
it looks like this Schreibersite mineral. It's yeah, only in meteorites, but it's FeNi3P. So this means
Oh.
that it's going to. This is going to have a negative charge, but then
Ooh.
in a phosphate mineral, or in this phosphate fight, see, it's got the positive charge because it's got
Mhm.
oxygens bonding to it. So it must be some change in here. Oh, here we go. Displays a spectrum as okay, so yeah, it's been reduced and then oxidized. So like how I guess yeah, kind of how like carbon can be both on. I think about it like a beginning and end of the mineral formula, like how carbon can be both at the beginning and the end. Like phosphorus is kind of like that.
Oh, that would be cool.
I think that's where this comes in
I
with the
mean,
water.
yeah. I would be curious to learn more about that.
Mm.
This stuff is like so fascinating to me. I know it's like a huge knowledge gap, but I'm like it's so cool.
That's It's really
um
cool. I just
yeah.
I don't understand how like the nucleotide precursor. The nuke What is a nucleotide?
So nucleotides are what we use to make DNA, right? I'm pretty sure. I feel like I need like an image like of like hold on, like nucleo. Wow, I can't type right now. Isn't that like the what comes together? Wait, hold on. Now I'm like googling it to make sure. Um yeah. Yeah, it's all of these little tiny steps that like come together to do all the things. So yeah, it says nucleotides are organic molecules composed of nitrogen base, pentose sugar, and phosphate. They serve as monomeric units of the nucleic acid polymers, deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA, and ribonucleic acid, both of which are essential molecules within all life forms on Earth. Ooh, ah. Um, but
That's
yeah, I
what's
always thought
coming.
it would like the just like the structure of DNA,
Okay.
more
Okay.
so like the structure of like the nucleic acids that like make up the DNA. Uh,
So what this
stuff.
is saying is like you could take these meteorites and like you've been saying, you need water, you need warm, which is why you've been saying all along we probably don't have that on the asteroid. And then that can interact with water on Earth through some process, like a meteorite coming in or Lord, whoever knows. And then that can eventually form the precursors to DNA and RNA.
Yeah. Or I think some of the precursors might already kind of exist like on asteroids, like that Eurosil stuff. But yeah, and then I think some of it also comes together. I don't know exactly like where the things, like definitely like come together or what
Yeah,
exactly, but
yeah. Oh no,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
really cool. That's really cool.
Um there's so the word I was looking for earlier when I was talking about like hydrothermal vents, and I once again am like still kind of like starting to learn more a bit about this, but it's like I'm just going to read this to you. Serpentinization. So it's the process of hydrothermal alteration that forms. Do you know this?
Yeah, it's serpentinization.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I always butcher words. Oh my gosh. So tell us about it, because I was like, this has things that I feel like you're going to know about. So this is like one of the important like things in astrobiology
Really?
that could happen with the hydrothermal vents to actually have these molecules come together and form more complex ones, as far as I know.
Uh, Hang on. Let me
I
see.
think it's more so like seawater reacting with like
It
hydrothermal stuff
yeah,
and
it's
going through the
seawater.
specific stuff and kind of causing these molecules to have those whatever chemistry reactions and do other things. Um, I could maybe find like the specific
Okay, I
thing.
got it. Magnetite plus H2.
I'm about to
Uh,
grab my astrobiology textbook and read this part because like I don't know if I can talk enough about it, but I just think it's so
no,
like all of this stuff is so cool.
I can talk about it. I wrote an article about it. I'm just like trying to think about.
Cool.
No, I wrote an article about an article. Not like that.
No, that's still cool.
It's really cool. Here, Klein et al. 2022. Um, Also, so in addition to being like an astrobiology issue, this is the predominant way that we're gonna try to like use geology to fight. Well, not predominant way, but it's one of the ways that we're actually trying to fight climate change, because by the process of serpentinization like stores carbon. So
Hmm.
like you can essentially take carbon dioxide and turn it into a rock. Let me try to find. There's a
Oh, that's cool.
really nice. I thought this. Here we go. Okay, so serpentine is what you get when you take the mineral olivine,
Hmm.
and you metamorphose it lightly. Olivine is what the majority of the Earth's mantle is made up of, but also a really it's one of the main minerals you find in oceanic crust. And so these hydrothermal vents that are on the seafloor, these really like hydrothermal, these like so we call these meteoric waters, meaning that they're very hot. They've got a lot of like atoms and stuff in them. They've been kind of like going through the groundwater, and they probably have like dissolved volcanic gases in them. And then those waters can react with the olivine that is, at this point, it's kind of on the way to metamorphosing. The olivine turns into serpentine. So we go from like Mg2SiO4 to this formula. Well, we have two serpentines,
Hmm.
Mg3Si2O5OH4, that's serpentine. And if you take that and then you combine it with more carbon dioxide that's dissolved in water. So we've got like carbon rich, uh, carbon dioxide is a volcanic gas. So it's going to be dissolved in the water. When that reacts with serpentine, that's how you make other minerals called talc and magnesite. So if you've ever heard, have you ever heard of like
Oh.
soapstone? People like carve
Uh-huh.
soapstone figures. Is there a link to this paper with the formula? I can. Yeah, give me 1 second. This is page 2.
Is it are molecules lost in that formula somewhere? Like, or do they like get rid of it? I don't know if that's like a dumb question. I genuinely don't know enough about this. Because I know essentially this process creates energy that could be good for like microbes or whatever. Um, I guess is more so the case of like the astrobiology tie-in. but I don't know.
Metamorphism is funny because you don't have
Pluto.
any melting. Metamorphism is technically solid state recrystallization. And the energetics of what minerals you form, it really depends on the pressures and temperatures. With ser- serpentinization, I mean, like, this is a really low energy metamorphic, like these are really low energy metamorphism. Like, you know, a little bit of heat, a little bit of water will do this. What I was thinking of, if you're going to heat and melt, I mean, there's
I think it's more
probably
so like the heat. Yeah.
there's probably some energy given off here, but probably not like you're thinking. I think the heat would come from the volcanic vents, not so much from this reaction.
I was thinking the volcano. Well, yeah. I don't know exactly what I was thinking, I guess. I don't know enough about this stuff, but I
That's
know
okay.
that it does create heat, so I wasn't exactly sure. But yeah, maybe it is like the volcanic vents. And I don't know why this is so important then. Maybe it has something, maybe it's just because that's how like, am I wrong to think that, like, okay, so there's the core of the earth, right? There's like maybe like little opening and like volcanic like outgassing from it, like into like a hydrothermal vent. But I'm assuming it kind of has to like go through some rocks or something, and that's like more so like the, maybe I'm picturing this wrong. But I guess just that kind of like production of heat. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
mean
that made
the
any
heat comes from, well, I mean, over long periods and millions of years, yeah, the heat goes
sense. Hmm.
from the core of the earth out to the surface.
Hmm.
But when when the lava erupts and it cools very quickly, you do get a lot, heat being produced as that lava cools, which happens instantaneously. Um,
Hmm.
I'm just saying, like, it's a very hot, mineral rich environment because when that water's really hot and before these water's carrying elements can get out of the hydrothermal vent, they're hot enough so all of these elements and gases are dissolved in them. And then as soon as they get out
Oh.
and come into contact with the very cold seawater, they're like the hot briny waters that you see coming out, they're like 400 degrees still, or 300
Hmm.
degrees. But as you go away from the vent, you have a thermal gradient. And so you'll
Yeah.
get different minerals that precipitate. Like, black smokers are black, and that's sulfides, like pyrite and stuff,
Hmm.
that then oxidize immediately. Um,
Cool.
so you have a very briny, everything is super, super, super concentrated, like right at those vents, because you have a environment, where you have high concentrations of elements that have the potential to make things, if you will. And then it's, what conditions do they come out of the vent, what happens as they come out of the vent, and that kind of controls what you get, if that makes sense.
Hmm. No, that totally makes sense. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that that type of environment, like I could see would be really good to make all these random little things for life and be like such a good energy source too. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you explained that really well.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is how you get soapstone. And then if you take that and you put
Nice.
talc with more carbon dioxide, you get quartz and magnesite and water. And so this right here,
Hmm.
this is how you store carbon dioxide in a rock. And this is the goal,
Cool.
is to turn it all into quartz and magnesite instead of putting it up in the atmosphere.
Interesting. Wait, so you mentioned that we were trying to use this for climate change. So are we trying to actually capture carbon dioxide in rocks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's being done. It's just starting to
How
be done on large scales with some private companies. But it's been, labs have been doing this on the small scale for like a decade almost.
That's cool. Wait, so how are they like what how large of a scale and like is it enough to like actually make a difference in like the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere?
Not on the small scale. Um, as far as, oops, as that's why we have streamer mode. Um, I would, it's my hope that the companies that are doing it that I know of, which I, privacy things and stuff.
That's fine.
If more in the industry did it and it was done on a larger scale, I think it would make a very significant difference. But it's one
Huh.
out of many contributors. And I think that until you can get certain governments of very large countries, the United States included,
Hmm.
also mainly China, a lot of it, um,
Hmm.
they're until you get them on board, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair enough. That's so interesting though that yeah, they're doing that. I don't know if I've heard about that before.
mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. I like never thought of like never ever ever thought of that. That's so cool.
Yeah, carbon capture is a really cool, like carbon capture is a really cool like area of research.
Yeah,
So,
that is awesome.
yeah.
Um, oh my gosh, my mind's just like a little bit blown right now. That's so cool. um, let me see. I was seeing what else we had to talk about. I don't know if I like derailed from a question that you asked like a while ago either. Um,
It's okay. I think like I think pretty much in the article I just, the rest of it really just talks about like what would happen once you get organic material to the earth. How can you turn it
mhm,
into life? And it talks about like, using the asteroids and micrometeorites, and I think it's got this plot of how many, like, so the y-axis here is the number of extraterrestrial items, if you will, that come into Earth's atmosphere, and then the x-axis
ooh,
is their mass. So up, bigger is going to be boomier. um
cool.
Sorry, I've got some. You
Yeah, I thought it
mentioned.
was interesting that they were um, trying to see like trying to look at like meteor impact events as like a source of energy for all of that stuff too. Um, and yeah, they like I think it says right there they confirm the synthesis of amino acids under these high pressure conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, producing the components of proteins. So cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like,
Um,
yeah, you could. There's simulations that show you could do it, and labs say you could do it. We just have yet to see it.
mhm. um, yeah, a lot of this stuff's so interesting. You know, since we can't like time travel back to early Earth and see exactly what it was like, we just have to go off all of this you know, evidence or things that we have and kind of like test it out in a lab because we'll never really be able to test it out.
Mm-hmm.
I do know Saturn's moon Titan could be kind of similar to what like prebiotic Earth was like. So
Really?
we might be able to learn a bit more. We're sending the Dragonfly mission there, which will actually be like flying around the moon and checking out a bit more about it. But we're kind of wondering if we could maybe find some, you know, biomolecules or maybe small life forms or like precursors to life on the moon, which would be interesting. But yeah, we're hoping to learn more about like early Earth a bit too. I think from this Dragonfly mission, just to see what kind of environment Titan is like.
What makes Titan? So this says Saturn's organic rich moon Titan. I know, little to nothing about space stuff. Um,
Um,
what?
yeah, so Titan has like an atmosphere. It's like mostly nitrogen and some methane, but it has a whole it also has like rocks on the surface that are like water ice.
Oh.
But it has a whole like instead of Earth's water cycle, it has rivers and lakes and rain of hydrocarbons, so like methane and ethane. Um, it's a very weird environment, but with like all of those things, they're kind of like, well, this could be, maybe like a weird place to look for life, or maybe, excuse me, it's a bit more similar to like what early Earth was like. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think that's super cool. It's what some of the stuff in the paper like made me think of.
No, it is really
um,
cool. I
yeah.
genuinely don't I don't keep up on space enough to know
No, I
anything.
totally get
I just I
it. No, I totally get it. Don't yeah, no, don't feel bad about it.
oh,
um,
we've
yeah,
got
I mean, that I feel like that's the stuff I like more so keep up with because I'm just so like, I mean, Earth is cool, Earth is great, I love it, but I'm just so fascinated about like all of the moons and other planets like out there. So I feel like that's like more so where my hyper focus and stuff goes to.
well yeah.
Um, but I mean, yeah, it's really fascinating. I just think it's so cool that we might be able to learn more about like the origins of Earth and life on Earth by like looking at other places too. I just endlessly awesome to me.
That
Um,
would be cool. I've got
yeah.
some questions in chat.
Oh.
Oh, you believe some models for formation of life include lightning, but hasn't there also been recent research focusing on geothermal conditions that could kickstart life? Yeah, we were just talking
Mhm.
about that. We were talking about like the hydrothermal uh, vents and like kind of how that forms. Are we gonna get treated to an all-female STEM panel for TwitchCon? Uh, I have no control over things. I don't. I am but lowly affiliate. I am but lowly affiliate. Not my job.
I think affiliates can maybe still do panel ideas, but I'm actually not sure.
Th-
Oh my God, do you want to do like an all woman STEM panel? That would be so cool.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be down. I'd be down.
That would be
Um,
so cool.
I do know that yeah they don't like you. I mean I think any affiliates can pitch for a panel, but they don't like take it seriously. Basically, is kind
Hmm.
of it. Please do it. We should. Yeah, maybe
Yeah, I don't know.
we should. Let's throw it out there in the
I
Discord.
mean, I'll submit it. I'm cool with that. I mean, if we can think up some like specific things to talk about, and I definitely more so
Mm-hmm.
like relate it back to streaming and stuff because it's
Mm-hmm.
a TwitchCon panel. I'm down. I'm down for that.
I think it definitely like want to focus on like the the female experience, or the female and or female identifying
Hmm.
experience, um,
Yeah.
because that's definitely the setting it apart, which it
Yeah.
is. It is. There's you know
It's different.
you do there's some difference.
Yeah. Especially being even more of like a marginalized gender in like, the science and tech category, let alone like, getting your PhD and doing research in fields that are like also male dominated. It's like yeah, yeah, we're,
Yeah,
I guess, marginalized on both ends of it. But,
that
and just also on Twitch. But I could see that actually being really cool and being really insightful.
yeah.
I'm literally gonna take it. I'll talk to I'll okay, chat. If
Throw
chat
it
wants it.
throw it
All
in the
right.
Discord. Throw it in the
Um
Discord. You could have a fun holiday on Titan. The gravity is fairly low and the atmospheric pressure is high enough. Humans would be able to fly by strapping wings to their arms.
that would be so cool.
Hmm.
That'd be so cool.
I don't know how I would feel about that. I need to be okay in a helicopter. And like so this is just like if
That's
y'all
fair.
can write a
That's fair.
funding grant, you assume writing it and hi welcome Zanzibar. Writing it is one thing. Getting the grant is another. I just found out I didn't get my postdoc, which is fine. But
Oh
like
no, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I might get a job hopefully. But yeah,
Good luck. Good luck.
thanks. But yeah, no. And that's I mean, it's a oh no, it's okay. It's okay. No, Zanzibar, it's fine. It's fine. These like NSF fellowships are like stupid hard to get. stupid hard to get. You'd
That's what I've
literally
heard.
be able to make a joke about flying in and having tired arms. That would. So, Moo, I would
Uh-huh.
like to know, what are your plans? One, are you going to keep on streaming? When's your 10-year stream anniversary?
Um, May 3rd, Friday, May 3rd. So like in a week.
In a week.
Yeah. That is like, I think the anniversary of maybe at least the first stream that I have evidence for. Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Weird. I can't believe it's been that long. Like it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it also like it's definitely like I've been getting like a little emotional and like kind of cheesy over time, just like thinking about it because it's like wow, that's been like a really long time. Um, we'll probably celebrate the whole month though, but I definitely have plans for like Friday the 3rd and definitely like the whole week after it. And I figure if it goes the whole month, then all right. um,
That's a huge
but yeah, I mean,
accomplishment.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's really surreal that it's been that long. It's
Yeah.
cool. And it's been cool to see like Twitch change over time and to like, have seen like the science and tech category be made. And like, to be able to primarily stream in that and to see so many other awesome like SciComm streamers and actual scientists like come onto the platform and share everything that they know and like see the community grow just like over that category and everything has been amazing. Uh yeah, like I'm just speechless. I just think it's been so cool. And it's yeah, I don't know how it's been 10 years.
I mean, we are all indebted to you and other, you know, early science streamers on here. Truly, like you guys paved the way for us to kind of like feel comfortable doing this. So,
Oh,
like, truly, we are indebted to you.
oh. Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just kind of streaming. I like, I didn't start it to be like, oh, let's do something totally new and something different. I was just like, this is my passion. I'm just gonna share it anyways. But I'm really glad that it's like, yeah, turned into like the science and technology category and that there's so many other cool people doing this stuff. Like, yeah, I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah, Moo
Yeah,
flapped. So
thank
yeah,
you.
you flapped so others could fly. You're over there with the hand wings.
I'm just
So what stuff do you have coming up on your stream? Do you have like what sort of topics, I suppose, do you plan on looking at in the next month or so?
so yeah, usually we cover just like current news on space and astrobiology. Every now and again, I'll do a deep dive. This week we did like a deep dive into Enceladus, Saturn's moon. So that was fun. Uh, yeah, we just kind of go wherever the news takes us, and I keep up with like kind of random astrobiology articles, like the ones talking about like those specific molecules or whatever in molecular gas clouds and space and all of that cool stuff. Um, and yeah, I mean, what else do I have coming up? I guess mainly the stream anniversary will probably be kind of watching old clips and going through like a bunch of nostalgic stuff, just talking about like a decade of streaming and I think we're gonna try to play games from like every year of streams too. I'll see exactly how I do that. But I was maybe gonna try for like one stream to play like 15 or 30 minutes of a lot of the different games that I've played over the years.
Oh wow.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
How many are you going to have to re-download?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Probably a lot. Thankfully, I do have the space to do that, but um I know some years I feel like I'm more so focused on just like one game or like I've played a ton of games on stream for sure, but I'll probably focus on just like the big ones. Like I feel like 2015 was like Fallout 3 or whatever, and then Fallout New Vegas and Doom, and like I don't know, 2017 was like Subnautica for me, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably kind of just focus on like more so like the bigger ones that I spent more time on, but I don't, yeah. I'll have to try to like plan it out a little bit more and be like, how am I going to do all this? But yeah, that's why it might take a month though.
I mean, that's really reasonable.
Oh,
That's really reasonable.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
um,
excited for it.
it's been really nice having you on. Before I
Same.
before I let you go, I definitely. I mean, I don't know that you're here. I don't know that I need to shout you out, but here, go follow Mahoodles if you don't
Oh,
already. science communicator extraordinaire and mother, co-mother, one of the original Twitch science communicators. And
No.
no, like truly, truly. Um, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your stream or you or
Um,
anything?
I mean, not really. I was wondering if you had any other questions on like the article, or like if we kind of covered it enough
I think I think we
for
covered
you
it
too.
truthfully. Like
Okay.
I genuinely like don't like I didn't even know what a nucleotide. Like I don't know biology. So being
Yeah.
able to like get the chance to like talk to you and learn like even like genuinely like learn how these phosphate things like
No.
blew
It's so
my
cool.
mind. Truly
It's so
mind
interesting.
blown. You know, it's really
Oh,
cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. So,
it is. It's so fascinating. And I just love that like a lot of it already exists in space or is on asteroids and has like crashed into Earth, and that it's probably on other, bodies in our solar system or like exoplanets and stuff out there. Yeah, it's very
nice.
exciting to me.
So
um
when do you stream for those who are not already following you or don't know your schedule?
I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at like 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So I stream a little bit late. Uh, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's my schedule.
Yeah. This was very fun and informative.
It
Thank you.
was.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
doing this. This
Well,
has
thank
been
you
really,
for
really nice.
inviting me and teaching me a ton of stuff too. That was like super fascinating and really awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Cool.
loved it. Oh, I have that article too. I can send you the article about like the volcano kind of
Yeah.
things or whatever for life reactions. But yeah,
Yeah. I would
yeah,
love
this
to
was so
read it.
fun.
I just I saw one on the volcanic lava like the lava lake on Io and I bookmarked it, but I have yet to read it. So,
I totally get that. It is really rad.
mhm.
But yeah, thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you another
Oh,
time, Moo. Oh,
yes, everyone be sure to follow Volcano Doc if you don't, are also because she's super
yes.
awesome and amazing, and she does so much cool stuff on her streams.
Oh,
You should
and
tell
will
everyone what
we
you
see
do
you at
too.
TwitchCon? Maybe?
Wait, me or
Yeah,
you?
both.
Yeah,
Are you gonna go to
I'm
TwitchCon?
definitely going to TwitchCon. Yeah,
I have
that's so cool.
I'm planning on it. I'm planning on it. I'm planning on it. So cool. Well, at the very least, I'll see you at
Yay.
TwitchCon.
Yes.
So,
Thanks so much for having me on your stream. It was so much
yeah.
fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.